Chad Hasty Show. Joining us on the phones right now, Republican strategist, our good friend, Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Chad. I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing great. I appreciate you taking some time to join us today on the show. Obviously, there's a lot going on that we could get into. The first thing I want to ask you about, actually, is pretty related to Austin, but the story's gone national, and that's the homeless stuff that's happening in Austin, Texas, with the homeless basically now being able to camp out wherever they want to, except on the property of City Hall. They can't be there, but anywhere else they can be on public property and hang out. Matt, what is the latest? I mean, how are things in Austin looking? Is it noticeable, the impact this has had?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely noticeable. And it's not just a downtown problem. I mean, it is most acutely being felt in downtown and most visible there, but it's happening all across the neighborhoods of our city. I'll be honest, Chad, I think there are some signs that are hopeful, and then there are some signs that are discouraging. I mean, the discouraging sign is this took effect July 1st. It's now almost September, 2 months later. This thing's been a disaster, and the city council hasn't done one thing. And in fact, they took the month of July off for vacation, but in the entire month of August, they didn't even reconsider the policy. They didn't even put it on the agenda in any of their city council meetings. That said, there has been some discussion of limiting where the homeless can camp and sleep. There's been some discussion of not allowing it in high pedestrian areas on major streets. So, look, I think where we are is the backlash continues. It's continuing to intensify. The mayor and the council, I think, are at risk of really being out of touch, and they're really at risk of being responsible or being held responsible if something truly horrific happens, which I fear we may be in for in the next 3 or 4 weeks as we have some major events beginning with this weekend's first home football game. There's some talk at the September 19th council meeting that they may finally reconsider it, but of course that's still 3 weeks away. So, yeah, I mean, this got some attention last week with a national story in the Washington Post talking about the issue. We've had small businesses announce that they're going to start closing earlier to protect their employees in the downtown area. The Convention and Visitors Bureau has said that they are seeing conventions and conferences and business meetings cancel. People who are coming in and staying at hotels are shocked how bad Austin has become. I mean, it really is doing damage to our image, to our economy, and it's hurting public safety and public health. So, we're going to keep pushing, and if we don't get resolution in September, we're going to launch a petition effort to gather 20,000 hard copy petitions to try to put this on the ballot in May at the next opportunity. That's obviously 9 months away, and we don't want to wait that long. But we're gonna fight it both short term and long term.
Yeah. Good luck in that fight, and I think it's something that every city better keep an eye on, and voters, because while it's an Austin issue right now, listen, this thing could pop up anywhere. It could pop up in any city, and I know I've had discussions with some folks out here, even in Lubbock, where there are issues out here where the homeless issue is becoming a bigger problem by the day out here in this area, and so it's something that I think citizens all over should be taking a look at and being concerned what their city is going to do. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it has the potential to go to other cities. You would think, based on how bad this is, that other cities would want to emulate what Austin's done. But there's an ideological element to this. I think some of the people behind this believe this is compassionate. I don't believe that at all. But yeah, I mean, look, if Los Angeles and San Francisco if the examples those cities have become, didn't dissuade Seattle and Honolulu and Austin and other cities from following their lead, I don't know why, San Antonio and Dallas and Houston might not follow Austin's lead. So, yeah, I think every city's got to be very aware of this. Look, homelessness is a complex problem that doesn't have a simple solution. You have people with mental health challenges who need treatment. You have people with drug and alcohol abuse who need to be diagnosed and need to receive treatment, and those people need to be off the streets. Most of the problems you have with homeless people are in one of those two categories. Everyone else needs to be on a path to work and self-sufficiency and be safe. And that requires housing. It requires significant, financial commitments from cities. So it's not a quick fix. But, making vagrancy great again is not the motto that we want in Austin, and that's unfortunately what we're starting to become known for.
Yeah, let's take a look at the national scene, Matt. We've got some debates that are going to be coming up pretty soon for the Democrats. And it looks as though this could be another two-night debate for the Democrats as they careen towards the 2020 primary. What do you make of the primary season, or at least the race right now? And who are the top candidates?
Yeah, it looks to me as though it's a two-horse race between Biden and Warren. I think you have to put Sanders and Kamala Harris probably in the first tier. And then the second tier is probably just Pete Buttigieg by himself. Then everybody else is third tier or below. Look, Warren, we really have to stop and marvel at what Warren has done.
Yeah.
She's run the best campaign of the 24 candidates who were running. She had, I think, a kind of a mixed announcement day, but every week and every day since then has been a good day, and she's taking share from Bernie Sanders almost every day. Tremendous enthusiasm out there. She's raised significant money without doing any high-dollar fundraisers. She is just doing a great job, and she deserves credit for that. Biden sort of is hanging on, doesn't have a lot of enthusiasm, but he does have older voters, and he does have moderate and independent Democratic primary voters, and we'll have to see whether that's enough. But I can see a scenario where Warren wins Iowa and New Hampshire and becomes very hard to stop in terms of momentum. You're right. The next round of debates are going to be more interesting. I think you're going to have 12 candidates in there. There's 10 who qualified right now, and if Steyer or Tulsi Gabbard qualify, then they'll be up to 12, and they'll go over 2 nights. Look, that's obviously a lot more speaking time than when you had 20 before. And so you're going to have a lot more interaction, a lot more opportunity for people to make mistakes. I think we'll see if Kamala Harris or Joe Biden get through the debate without making mistakes. They both have shown some problems, when they're out there sort of speaking off the cuff. But it surely looks to me like Warren's rising and Biden's slightly fading. But look, it's still really early, and we'll have to see kind of what happens this fall now that the field's starting to narrow.
Do you think that when they're on the debate stage together, and I think if it's in Houston and when they're on the debate stage the first time together, the Warren Biden, I'm interested to see how they're going to act towards each other, because Biden has to know that Warren right now is his greatest threat. It's not Kamala. She's continued to fade in the polls. It's Warren. And do they go after each other? And, if you're Elizabeth Warren, what do? I mean, don't you think that's going to be the dynamic to watch?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and you also have some other candidates who are desperate, who maybe, trying to hit, grand slam home runs. The challenge, the interesting thing is, Biden is sort of running a prevent defense. He's trying to run out the clock. He's not doing very many events. He's not doing many interviews. He's being very careful and scripted. And even with that, he's still making mistakes. And so I don't know when, if he's still the nominal front runner, I'm not sure it's to his advantage to attack anyone, particularly if he's going after the person that has the most enthusiastic support, who's most closely aligned with the base of the party. Yeah. He's not going to go at her from the left, right? He's going to go after her, if anything, from the right, and I don't know whether that's going to work. From Warren's perspective, I'm not sure I'd change much about what she's doing. I mean, I think she's gaining enough support, and it's going in the right direction. You risk something when you go after someone, and it's possible she wants to be the anti-Biden. Basically the one person who can prevent a moderate old white male from being the nominee, and that may be a very valuable place to be for her. I think you're going to see Sanders, feel a certain sense of desperation, although he hasn't really done a lot of attacking when he's been running for president. And then Kamala Harris, I imagine, probably will feel a need to go after Biden and maybe others as well. So, yeah, of course, it's going to depend. If it's 2 nights, some of these people won't be on the same night, so it'll be interesting to see how they divide that up. But look, you're going to have only 10 or 12 people, so there's going to be a lot more time for all these interactions and for candidates to develop strategies and execute them.
I would ask you about the Walsh guy who's running against Donald Trump, but that's probably just a waste of time for everybody involved, right?
Yeah, Daily Beast had a story yesterday about the guy he hired as a campaign manager. He hasn't talked to him in 8 days and hasn't returned 23 phone calls.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
Yeah, not a good start. I guess Walsh was just trying to get out there and do as much television Sunday and Monday in New York as possible. He did Meet the Press. He did Morning Joe. Look, you're not going to beat Trump by going on Morning Joe. I mean, there are no Republican primary voters watching Morning Joe. So I don't really understand it. People who've been arguing about character for 2.5 years now want to get behind someone like Walsh, who's had just a stunning amount of problems. I won't even detail them all here. We don't have time to do it. But I don't understand. There's no constituency for Joe Walsh. He's not going to get anything going, and it's a total waste of time. And if anything, all it does is when you primary an incumbent president, it doesn't ever really threaten their ability to be renominated, but it can threaten their ability to be reelected. And given the stakes of the 2020 election, and given how far left the Democrats are going, I just think that's really unhelpful and unnecessary at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Matt, tell folks about your newsletter and also your latest podcast.
Yeah, the newsletter is called Must Read Texas. We take all the top news from around the state, and we put it into one clean, simple, easy-to-read email and deliver it by 9 a.m. each weekday. You can sign up for a free one-week trial or subscribe at mustreadtexas.com. My podcast is called Back on Politics, and our most recent interview is with Annie Jacobson, who's a best-selling author who just wrote a fascinating book called Surprise, Kill, Vanish, about the history of the CIA's covert action programs. Really a fascinating conversation. You can find that in the iTunes Store, on Google Play, on Stitcher, and on Spotify.
Very good, Matt. As always, appreciate your time. We'll visit with you here in a couple of weeks.
Take care.